catch me howling at the moon.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Park Pros. So I was in Southern California a few weeks ago, and as a roller coaster enthusiast tends to do when in that area, I took a visit to Six Flags Magic Mountain. And let me tell you, I love this park. Now, I've been visiting Magic Mountain since I was a kid, so over 5 or 6 trips since then, I've gotten all the available credits. So this visit I was really just able to splurge and basically just ride whatever the hell I felt like. And I had a ton of fun. Before we start, just a heads up that this video is going to be in more of a traditional trip report format, and we're not going to do a lightning round on the coasters of Magic Mountain for this video because with 20 credits, the video might be an hour long. I also didn't get a ton of footage this trip, so I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. I got to the park right when it opened at 10:30, and although X2 was highest on my priority list, I decided to get a ride on full throttle to avoid any bad lines later on. And it was good. Really forceful launch and great sustained hang time on that loop. The only real bad part of this ride is the awkward way you get slammed into the brakes in the middle of your airtime on that final drop. And I know that everyone says this, but it really is a shame that they didn't do at least a high-speed turn or a helix or something after coming down over the loop. Because had they really just done anything else, that final hill would have had the potential to be one of the great ejector moments out there. Next, I walked over to X2, but it still hadn't opened yet, so I headed up the hill to get on Tatsu. During my 2020 visit, Tatsu broke down for the day, and I hadn't been on it since 2016. And man, it did not disappoint. B&M flyers always tend to freak me out a little, but the way that Tatsu is perched up on the mountain, literally hundreds of feet in the air, is legitimately terrifying. It's just such a great ride. I feel like Tatsu really gets slept on as one of the best coasters in the country. Next up, I waited about an hour for back row on X2, which was running one train, which apparently has been the case for a couple months now. X2 is one of the most insane ride experiences out there. Roller coaster, drop tower, attraction, period. If you haven't ridden it, there is no good way to prepare for it. It is absolutely bonkers, and to this day I still get nervous climbing up that lift hill, and I've been on it at least a dozen times. An absolutely elite roller coaster. After X2, I headed to the back of the park to meet up with Chris from ACN and get a ride on West Coast Racers. And I'm still in the camp that this was a home run edition for Magic Mountain. And that's saying a lot considering how many great coasters they already had. It has so many fun elements, it's so re-rideable, and the controlled dueling really makes the ride feel more thrilling with all the near misses. If it didn't have those stupid comfort collars, this would be a nearly perfect coaster in my book. Next up was Riddler's Revenge, which is just head and shoulders better than any stand-up coaster in the States. It's smooth, forceful, and actually tolerable, unlike the other horrible green stand-up at that other Six Flags park. After that, I spent some time checking out the construction side of Wonder Woman, where they were working on putting some track up. And I guess I really hadn't thought about how massive this ride's footprint is actually going to be. This coaster is going to visually dominate that entire backstretch of the park. I haven't been on Jersey Devil yet, so I'm not sure how good Wonder Woman will actually be, but at the very least, it adds a unique ride experience to the park, which is pretty hard to do when you already have 20 roller coasters. After that, I went and got a handful of rides on Twisted Colossus, which was a station wait. It's still in the upper half of the RMCs I've been on, but I don't think I'm as high on it as most people are. For me, the fact that you hardly ever duel is a really big detriment to the ride. The elements are very clearly designed to be enhanced by the dueling aspect, and some of them just kind of feel awkward on their own. And this is especially the case when you have been able to experience the dueling before and know just how much it adds to the ride experience. But regardless, on its own, it still is a really good RMC. Next up was Viper, which is a coaster that I try and make an effort to get on every time I'm at the park, because you just don't know when it's gonna go. And especially now, I feel like with Wonder Woman taking up so much space, there's really not a clear contender for where the park's next major coaster project could go. But anyways, Viper is insane. Riding this thing in the second to back row off the wheel seat is one of the most intense coaster experiences in the United States right now. They really don't build coasters with this style of intensity anymore. And compared to a lot of the other horribly rough and jerky aero coasters still operating, operating, I think this one is in pretty good condition. After that, I went and got some re-rides on some of the aforementioned coasters, and was planning on getting at least 2 rides on X2 in the last hour the park was open, but in typical X2 fashion, it broke down for the rest of the day. I'll give some of my random thoughts on Magic Mountain before we close out this video. Starting off with the bad. The faded paint on Goliath looks absolutely horrible. It desperately needs a new coat. On the contrary, I actually think Tatsu's new paint scheme works. I do wish they would have kept the dual shades of orange on the actual track, but the bright orange contrasting with the green supports really pops well. And it's really not as Nickelodeon looking in person as it is in pictures and videos. This also has to be one of the prettiest Six Flags parks. Although they have torn out a lot of trees and foliage in the back area of the park, that's basically all just concrete and DC themed now. The front half of the park, especially the areas surrounding the peak of the mountain and the front entrance, look phenomenal. I planned on spending an hour or two in the parking lot getting shots of X2 and Twisted Colossus for future videos, but the park was just so dead that I didn't want to stop riding. And that's kind of what I love most about Six Flags Magic Mountain. With it operating 365, it's really not that difficult to find a time of the year where the park is gonna be dead. Compare that to Cedar Point, which seems like it's busy almost every single day, especially with them pushing back the start of their weekly operations to the last week of May over the last couple years. Because of that, I've had really no desire to make a trip to Cedar Point, because with their operating schedule, there's just very few days on the calendar you're not going to be running into massive crowds. But it feels like anytime I'm in Southern California, it's fairly easy to pick out a weekday where Magic Mountain's going to have light crowds, which makes taking a day and going out of my way to go visit just a no-brainer. On top of that, with its coaster collection, Magic Mountain is just a special park to go to. It's just insane how many great rides this park has. I was there for a full 7.5 hours, and I didn't even have time to think about riding rides like Apocalypse, Ninja, Scream, or Goliath. Not only that, but they have like every coaster model imaginable, and every one of their coasters is like the best of its kind. Are the operations perfect? Not by any means. Does it very much feel like a Six Flags park? Yes, absolutely. But in the same way that Cedar Point feels like the pinnacle of the amusement park experience, Magic Mountain has that same kind of inexplicable aura to it, where to this day, half a dozen visits later, I still feel like a kid on Christmas morning pulling up to the park. If you've been and you love roller coasters, you know what I mean. But that's about all I got for this Six Flags Magic Mountain trip report. If you've enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Park Pros, as it really does help out the channel a ton. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.